Good evening, folks. Welcome to Agnihotra at sunset. You don't see it?
No, you have to hit the live button.
I did.
It says you didn't.
It's live. It says it's live. Yeah. Okay. Technology is not my long suit, but we are moving forward anyhow. So this is night 2 of our Equinox celebration, where we are doing Agnihotra and talking about some of the concepts, the values, the principles that are associated with Agnihotra. Agnihotra is purification of the atmosphere through the agency of fire, an ancient Vedic process that has been revived in modern times to counteract the effects of pollution. Pollution that takes a toll on all of us, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. But the blessing is we've been given this tool to clean the atmosphere. Done a lot of research all around the planet, and the research says that it's very effective in cleaning the air, the water, the soil, and it even is helpful in creating mental states that are soothing, that are comforting, that are healthy. Okay. So this evening Agnihotra goes at this location at 7, 16, and 17 seconds. And we will do Agnihotra, sit for a couple minutes, may even do a little guided meditation, and then we'll talk about some of the concepts that support Agnihotra, or that Agnihotra supports. We're going to dive into what we call Homa Therapy. Homa Therapy, H-O-M-A therapy. Homa Therapy is the application of Agnihotra and these principles for healing, growth, and promotion of well-being individually and collectively. We have been blessed that here in Baltimore, excuse me, where Agnihotra was introduced about 52 years ago. And shortly after that, we formed what was called the Baltimore Fire Temple. And what had happened was we noticed that several of us that were involved in doing Agnihotra and learning the principles at the Fire Temple were also mental health professionals. So collectively, we formed what was called the Baltimore Family Life Center, where we were working with high-end foster kids. We were doing substance abuse work, behavior health, and we used those principles in the process to develop some treatment models that are still being used, and people are trained in all over, not only the city, but all over the country and all over the world. So we want to give you some of those principles, and then you can, as Sri Basama said, be your own scientist. Be your own scientist. So, as we said before, Agnihotra has 3 components to it. It's what you burn. In this case, it's cow dung, dried cow dung. and put cow's ghee on it to help it burn. Try to make sure when we do this that we allow space so air gets in and that it burns cleanly, especially if you're going to do it indoors. Because, you know, it can be placed a little smoky. A lot of folks who burn it inside their homes actually burn it in their fireplaces or by open windows or in on their decks or whatever, in the sheds. It's finding a place that works for you. I'll tell you a secret. When I travel a lot of times, I actually will do it in the bathroom a lot of times. Do real small fire, put on the water in the shower, and cut on the exhaust, and just sit there and do it. So it's what you burn, it's the timing that you burn. Exactly sunrise and sunset. And as I said before, if you're interested in doing that, one way you can find out exactly what sunset and sunrise is for your area is by going to agnihotra.org, and if you put your information in under timings, it will tell you exactly what the time is for your particular area. Also on that same website, it'll show you how you can download a free app. It used to cost $5, I believe it's free now, that you can use anywhere in the world, and it will tell you exactly the time for sunrise and sunset, like that. So, and it's recommended to use the apps or the website, because some of the definitions of sunrise and sunset may vary from one system to another, like that. But this is the one that is seen as being most exact if you get it from agnihotra.org. Okay. So it's the timing, it's what you burn. And the third thing is the Vedic mantra, the Sanskrit mantra that goes something like this. Agnihotra Swaha, make the offering. Agnihotra idam namama, Prajapataye Swaha, second offering. Prajapataye idam namama. Now, technically, Agnihotra is over once you do that. You can sit for as long as you like till the fire goes out, for 5 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever works for you. You'll find, most people find, your capacity for sitting and go deeper gets larger the more you do it like that. So that mantra, in the first part, it said, Agnihotra Swaha. Swaha means offering. Agnihotra idam namama, idam namama. Thy will, not my will, be done. Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye idam namama, idam namama. How I take that, it's about submission to a higher reality, the more infinite, eternal reality that we are a part of. Excuse my language, but we can trip. We can think it's all about us sometimes. But life kind of redirects us one way or another to give us that message that it's really not about us. We are a part of nature. We are a part of life, a part of the universe. And the universe is very ordered. We do better. We are happier, more fulfilled, actually our potential better when we submit to the higher reality. Idam namama. Takes a little practice because there are a lot of distractions, especially on this planet in these times. Lots of distractions. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do the fire and sit for about 3 or 4 minutes. Then I'm going to do a little guided meditation. And then we're going to talk about 1 or 2 of the principles like that. So if you do this, and those of you who've done it and been around, you learn how to do the fire just by practicing it, how long it takes to light, and how much combustion happens, and all of that. I usually give it about 3 minutes. And I'm going to say again, welcome, because I understand there are people from all over the world who are watching, from India and Poland and Senegal and Ghana and all through the United States and like that. Because we are one planet. We are one people. All of the separation and designations are just about social constructions. We're just one little species that, has a variation of colors and cultures. Cultures are the way different groups of us adapt to different environments at different times. Once we make the offering, we don't touch the fire. So I have the rice, and again, the rice is whole grain rice, and we take out the pieces that may be broken, because that can shift the energy a little bit. And we want to do it as purely in the way it's prescribed as possible to get the maximum benefits. And if you really want to get down with it, because we use this ash in healing processes, many of us take it internally. It's all 52 elements in the periodic table. We use it in farming and such. But if you really want to use it for medicinal purposes, you might take a shower before you do the process and put on clean clothes. Not necessary to do every day, but if you're going to use this as a healing medicine, use the ash to develop different medicines and stuff, that's highly recommended. But that's a little bit beyond my pay grade, and right now we're just going to do this to settle our minds and and to get closer to our spirits and connect with the divinity within and that which is omnipresent, that provides guidance, clarity, protection, nurturance for us all. Agnihotra Swaha, Agnihotra Namah, Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idam Namah. Breathe rhythmically, slowly, from your stomach, and bring your breath up through your chest. And exhale. Breathe in. Exhale, doubt, worry, confusion. Inhale, peace, confidence, joy. Exhale, hurt, insecurity, anxiety. Inhale, confidence, positivity, hope. Exhale, insecurity, fear, guilt. Inhale, compassion, empathy, forgiveness. Breathe rhythmically, slowly, allowing each breath to nurture and support every cell in your body. To bring calm, peace, groundedness. And the affirmation, I am light, I am love, I am peace, I am divine, I am that I am. I am grateful for the opportunity to be present in the world. I am grateful for life, for love, and lessons learned. So again, welcome. Yesterday we talked about Agnihotra and what we call the Fivefold path that includes the Yajna, and Agnihotra is one of the main Yajnas, but it's not the only one. Yajnas are also called Homas. That's where we get Homa Therapy from. There's Dāna. Dāna means sharing of assets in the spirit of humility. The assumption that nothing belongs to any of us. We are all caretakers and thereby obligated to share responsibly. Then there's Tapa. Tapa is self-discipline. Any and all achievements in life require some level of self-discipline, which may mean saying no to certain desires or tendency, and maybe saying yes to others. But the systematic and consistent practice of Tapa invites success, fulfillment, and actualization of our higher selves. And then there's karma. Karma is right thought, right speech, right action. Because the universe is ordered. Whenever we put out, we get back. The more deliberate and intentional we are, the more we support our growth, the more we support our development, the more we support the harmony and growth of the planet. And then there's Swādhyāya. Swādhyāya is self-study. we all have the need to understand who we really are and what is our purpose, what it is we bring to the party. They say there's no such thing as trash. We all have something to give. Excuse me. It may not be something you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. It may be as simple as you bring some joy to your family. You bring some understanding to your community, your support. But everybody has a role that is specific to them and the way they are made. And God don't make no junk. So, today I'd like to go on a little further and start talking about what we call the 7 rules of thumb. You can actually see behind me on this chart, that's a chart that speaks to the 7 rules of thumb. And it starts off with no fault finding. No fault finding. No fault finding says that encourages us not to make judgments on anything or anybody in a negative way. That no matter how injurious, unacceptable, harmful a person's behavior may seem on the surface, when we start to go deeper, we can see everybody is doing the best they can from where they are at the time. Doesn't mean there's not room for growth, but to say that if you really start to unpack and look at what's going on inside of that person, we all have good intentions. How we may be trying to actualize those potentials may not be healthy, may be delusional, whatever. But it starts with everybody is doing the best they can from where they are at the time. And that the task may be to increase our capacity to be consistent with our intentions. That's growth. I mean, I've said it before, this planet, this is a school. We're all here to learn. Every stage of development, every challenge, every adversity has lessons for us. Gives us something that we need to know in order to grow and to increase our capacity so that we can be who we really are. So it starts off with no fault finding. Because I'll tell you a secret. Whatever we see in other people is just a mirror of what we're dealing with in ourselves. So if I say I can't stand a liar and a thief, what I'm really talking about is I can't stand a part of me that lies and steals. Maybe subtle, it may be socially acceptable or whatever, but it's still there. Other people are just mirrors of our issues. And when we can be accepting of people, not necessarily behavior, but accepting of people and see them in a positive light, we understand them better and help them to be more consistent with what they intend to be. So when I talked about the therapy models that we developed, it's about looking at, instead of looking at what's wrong with people, it's about looking at what's right with folks and helping folks to get clear. We get so many negative messages from society about ourselves. And as I said yesterday, 95% of our minds, in most cases, are unconscious. But that's where our beliefs And that's where our perceptions, that's where our experiences are all stored. So when we can look at them in a positive light and look for lessons and grow from them, we get one thing. But when we start looking at what's the problem all the time and being critical and negative, we actually support that kind of mentality. Because whatever you focus on, what you give energy to, and whatever you give energy to, you feed and help that to become real. So as I say that doesn't mean that all behaviors are acceptable. Because I think it's helpful to look at the difference between the person and the behavior. You can love and accept and understand the person, have compassion for them without accepting the behavior. As I said, you can have somebody you lend money to and they don't pay you. So you can be compassionate toward them because they have that habit of not following through on their commitments, which hurts them probably more than it even hurts you. But that doesn't mean you lend them more money. You know, you may hold them accountable for their behavior, but the object is to see the person, in the behavior. Because when behaviors are unhealthy, we think it's directed toward us, but unhealthy behaviors are unhealthy for the person who are doing the behaviors also. So when we can look at people with compassion and look at their intention, then it makes it more possible for us to assist them in whatever their path, their endeavor, their efforts may be. But when we just look at the negative and throw up walls, that's about us feeling inadequate. That's about us feeling unworthy or unable. So we start with no fault finding, because it's the assumption is we're all from the same source. We are all from the divine. We are all part of the divine. Yeah. And some of us are taking a scenic route around and are not aware, because it's different levels of awareness. And most of us are living out the programming that comes from society and from our families and the things we've been through and the traumas and whatever. And if we're looking at them in a negative light, we end up putting up walls. I remember one of my friends when I was coming up, his wall was, everything was funny. Everything was funny. He didn't, everything was a joke. Even when other folks couldn't see it. But we saw by the time he got into his late 20s, I don't think he got to be that far, that he was really suffering and had a lot of unresolved issues, and they got the best of him at some point. So what I'm saying, other people put up walls of I'm angry. I'm angry all the time. And as I said yesterday, to me, anger, no matter how righteous, is a defense mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. And it eats us from the inside out. And when we are angry at somebody else, we're giving them control over us. Some of it has to do with what we call locus of control. If your locus of control is external, then whether you're happy or not is dependent on what that one does and what this one does and what happens over there and like that. But if your locus of control is inside, it's dependent on what goes on inside of you. It's about you being in touch with yourself, moving on your higher values, and actualizing your potential. So no fault finding keeps us from falling in that trap of defensiveness where we put everything in a box and away from us, and that one's the problem, and she's the problem, and he and they and whatever. Yeah, they got their issues. But if you look at it in a larger context, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to be happy. Yeah, some of us are deluded and thinking the only way I can be happy is to do something to you. The only way I can be adequate is I got to demonstrate some power over you or whatever. Yeah, people are deluded in all kinds of ways. But whatever you give out, life gives you back and becomes your own trap in your life. We are helpful when we can see the light in people. I mean, think about your children. The children are playing and you can see the light in them and give them positive reinforcement and some nurturance and acknowledgement. It helps them to have confidence. It helps them to enjoy their life. It helps them to be more themselves. But if we're being critical and punishing and negative with them all the time, that gives them other messages. And many of us have had those messages and have to work through them over time. No fault finding is about acknowledging the strengths that everybody has. It's about acknowledging that everybody is trying to meet some legitimate needs. What Abraham Maslow says, did it in 5 layers. He said it was the physiological needs and safety and love and belonging, esteem, and then actualization. All of us are trying to meet those needs all the time, consciously and mostly unconsciously. And when we haven't been taught sufficiently or exposed to, we may come up with some strange ways of trying to meet those needs, So, my effort to be happy, maybe I'm doing drugs, or this one's effort to be happy is trying to take out a group of people over here, thinking that if I do that, I will be better. It's delusional. But if we really want to see that person, we have to see that person is trapped in their own negativity, and our job is to provide some light. I think about people who do these shootings in different places, going, we have them going to schools and places of work and whatever. And it's happening more and more because there's more and more stress in our environment. But what I see every time, I see somebody who doesn't feel heard, that doesn't feel seen, and is doing something that they almost know is suicidal just to say, they're going to see me now, they're going to hear me now. Because all of us have a need to be connected, to be acknowledged, to be seen and heard at some level. And if it hasn't happened in a way that's healthy, sometimes people will do it in very unhealthy ways. So no fault finding. No fault finding. It's about acceptance and surrender to our higher understanding. Not my will, but thy will. Surrender. I've heard it said, and it feels right to me, that when we get beyond this three-dimensional plane of time, space, and matter, which is, even the physicists are saying, what the mystics have always said, this is just one little corner of existence. This is not it. When we get beyond this, it seems that there's no such thing as good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is. It just is. And it's about, again, lessons, assimilating lessons to raise our consciousness so that we can be more consistent with our deeper nature, actualize our potential, and be fruitful in this life. But it takes some work. It takes some work to not find faults, because so many of our systems are based on that. I mean, just like watching the news now. It's recommended that we don't watch the news as much as we used to, because it's so negative. And it being so negative, it's fear-based. It's fear-based. So it's unconsciously tapping into and feeding one's fear. Fear of this group or that group, or if this happens or if this don't happen. It feeds fear. And what happens when we're fearful? We do unhealthy things to try to meet our needs. So the object is, with no fault finding, yes, we're talking about with other people and situations, but essentially we're talking about with ourselves. That's the core. No fault finding with ourselves. So we have to learn to be accepting. We have to learn to be forgiving, because we make mistakes, you know? We make mistakes. None of us is perfect. We all have things to learn, ways to grow, to become more of our divine selves. And it takes practice. And what seems like a healthy behavior at one stage of life may not be at the other stage of life. And it says, even the most traumatic experiences, no matter how hurtful, harmful, intimidating an experience is, there's always an upside to it. There's always an upside, because there's a lessons to be learned. I mean, again, if you look at this society that seems to be imploding, as so many societies and nations have done throughout history, and it's uncomfortable, because we all buy in so many different ways. But at the same time, it may be a real blessing, because it may shift the consciousness of people and how the systems function, so more people can be taken care of in basic ways that support their well-being, as opposed to this one group against another, that this divide and conquer that seems to be such a dominant theme in so many systems these days. But when we don't find fault, it makes us more possible for us to appreciate each other and connect with each other and work together. And to me, that is the biggest priority on the planet, that we have to get better at working together. You know, we have to get better at working together. Because we are all interconnected. We are all togetherness. Thank you. So no fault finding means looking for the good, looking for the strengths, looking for the intentions, looking for the potential. What we look for, we tend to find, and we reinforce. We do that with other people, with situations, and most of all, with ourselves. It seems, in many ways, a lot of the turmoil that is so much infecting the planet, it's really just symptoms of how so many of us have been thinking and not thinking. Again, that 95% of subconscious, that subconscious is easily programmed by a lot of these systems. And as such, we've become very, as a society, worldwide, negative, suspicious, aggressive, whatever. But more and more people are waking up and seeing that we're all in this together, we all have potential, we are all worthy. So when we do our affirmations, you know, we all had those thoughts back there about our worthiness and adequacy. I am worthy. I am blessed. I am grateful. Gratitude is the attitude that maximizes brain potential. So if we can, every day, no matter what your situation is, you have something to be grateful for. And the more you focus on that gratitude, the more you reinforce the things that you that are in your life that are supporting your well-being. Because that's what you're focusing on, that's what you're giving energy to. Not worrying about what you don't have, but being thankful for what you do have. Okay? So, in a nutshell, that's no fault finding. Again, my recommendation, my hope is just you'll take it and do your own experimentation with it. See the next time you get a negative thought about somebody or a situation or yourself, if you can't reframe that to look at the intentions, look at the person's, what they're trying to do to take care of themselves, what they have going for them. See if you can see what the lessons are, what's the positive that can be gleaned from that person, that situation. And see if that doesn't, see how that feels. See if that isn't grounding. See if that doesn't give you hope and encouragement. See if it doesn't bring you some level of satisfaction and joy inside. So we're going to talk more about these 7 rules of thumb. I think tomorrow we may talk about discrimination, decision making. Did you know that the average person makes 35,000 decisions a day. And of course, 97% of them are unconscious. So we're going to talk some about that process and how it can be enhanced. So. Okay, I think I need some more tea. Blessings, good night. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.